So basically the year is 1983, and I wasn't 5. I've been working in a band with a guy. I'd gone through a series of sort of short-term dead-end jobs, doing a little of this and a little of that. I worked for Tower Records for 3 years. I was a singing waiter for a couple of years. I went to live in London and working for a music manager in 1980 at the sort of height of the post-punk era. I learned I didn't want to be a manager, so I came home and joined a band with a guy. We had a band called Bon Mot, which is a mispronunciation of Bon Mot. We played all the 1980s clubs, Wong's West, Wong's East, the Music Machine, the Club 88, Blue Lagoon, Hop Sings, Club Lingerie, all of them. And we reached a point. Now, when I got back from living in London, I went to work for my uncle's ad agency. And the job started taking over. My main partner in the band comes to me one day in early 1983 and says, "You're not giving enough to the band. We need more of a commitment from you." Now, the band had been pounding the same dozen songs into the ground for 3.5 years, getting close, but getting nowhere. We ended up sounding like other bands without meaning to, like we did what we did and all of a sudden Men at Work came out, and oh shit, that sounds like us. We did what we did and all of a sudden Huey Lewis and the News comes out, and oh shit, that sounds like us. And they don't really care in the record business that you came first. All they know is, yeah, we got one of those. So my partner, Eric Lowen, the late Eric Lowen, is assigned the task of telling me, you need to choose between this advertising job and this band. Well, the band was paying me nothing. They were rehearsing in my house for free. We were playing these shows and getting nowhere. The advertising job was paying me 32 grand a year in 1983, and I thought I was fucking rich. I hated it, but it was work. The other things that are kind of significant is that at that point in time, the owner of the advertising agency, my uncle, Mike, and his son, Dave, Dave Navarro, had undergone an unspeakable personal tragedy with the death of Dave's mom at the hands of her boyfriend in a heinous domestic violence incident, killed her and her best friend. Took him 8 years to find him. He's in San Quentin for life now. But at that point in time, Dave was 15, and I had to run the agency. So I decided I had no choice but to quit the band. Now, at that point in time, let me tell you a little secret that's not a secret because it's on fucking Wikipedia. I was 31 years old. Now, when you get asked to leave a band because you're not devoting enough at 31 years old, that's it. It's over. Musical dream gone. Whatever it was you thought you were going to do didn't happen, isn't going to happen. Time to move on. So I shot the messenger and quit speaking to Eric Lowen. Decided it was time to cash that friendship in and never speak to him again, ever. Sorry. Go fuck yourself. 2.5 months later, he calls up out of the blue and says, "Hey man, want to write a song? Let me see if I got this straight. You want to write a song with me. You make me choose between music and my job. I've written 100 songs. You've written 4 songs in your entire life. You insignificant, worthless, using piece of shit." I didn't say any of that. But I thought it. But I also realized at that point in time, I was dying. Drinking too much. And just dying a death inside because I wasn't doing what I meant to do. So I sucked it up and said, "Hey, sure man, let's get together and write a song." On the appointed day, on September 22nd, 1983, I went to his house. He had a chord progression started. I had an idea of something I wanted to write about, which was basically to kiss off the ghost of a relationship from 2 years before that had been gone, but I hadn't let go of. To say basically, it doesn't matter if you're here, doesn't matter if you admit it, we belong together. It was bullshit, but that's what I wanted to say. And in 90 minutes, this song came out. Now, one of the things I knew at that point in time was that there was no way that anyone would ever hear it. We just did it to do it. Our friendship was rekindled, but nothing was going to happen. No one's ever going to hear this song ever. Just do it to do it. Keep a toe in it. Keep doing it, because if you don't, you're going to die. We wrote the song in 90 minutes because basically I got there at 8:30 and he was only allowed to do music until 10. The original scratch demo of this thing from the night we wrote it, right at the very end, you go, the next door neighbor going, it's 10 o'clock, it's time to shut up. So our friendship was rekindled. We started getting together weekly just for the hell of it, and I knew nothing would ever happen, but I felt a little better. Eric started taking the tape around to publishers. I remember calling him and going, for God's sake, don't put the ballad on it. And he did what he always did. Sure, man, I won't put the ballad on it. And then he put the fucking ballad on it. And every publishing company in town turned it down, including one guy who turned it down twice. This was at the end of '83, and all of a sudden in February of 1983, we get a phone call from a guy who turned it down, a guy named Tom Sturgis at EMI Music. And he says, come do a handshake deal with me. I have an idea. So he did. I was still working my dread day job. And he calls us up a week later and says, well, guess what? It's going to be Pat Benatar. And it's going to be her first single on a record that looks like it's going to be a hit. See, what we didn't realize is that she was tired of doing Heartbreaker and Hit Me With Your Best Shot and Love Is a Battlefield. She wanted a ballad. And this was right down the middle. So in that moment, our lives were changed permanently. That was 40 years ago. It's never been easy. It's been bumpy. Some days are good, better than others. But it occurred to me one day that had I said no like I wanted to, see, I thought that if I said yes to him, I was being a chump. Like all the times I'd said yes to women that broke my heart, or people who took advantage of me because I was that guy. But I had said yes to him. If I had stuck to my anger and my pride and my bitterness, I wouldn't be telling this story today. An entire lifetime of things that I value, that I treasure, would never have happened if I had stuck to my guns and said no to it. And it basically taught me something that I carry with me to this day. Now, that was 40 years ago when I was 31, and you can do the fucking math. I'm 4 months from 71 years old, and I get to do this. This is how I spend my life. 100 shows a year, records that nobody really hears, although the last one's doing a little better than the other ones did. So it basically taught me that when you're at that moment in your life, when someone says to you, you want to do the session, and you're swimming and drowning in poison and anger and pride and bitterness, shut the fuck up and take the session. Ooh, ooh, ooh. 20 times I tried to tell you, 20 times I cried alone. Always I'm surprised how well you cut my feelings to the bone. Don't wanna leave you really, just wanna break the ice. Do I look silly to you when I yield to your advice? When you say we belong to the light, we belong to the thunder, we belong to the sound of the words we've both fallen under. Whatever we deny or embrace, or worse or better, we belong we belong together. Terry, I never would have met you. Colette, I wouldn't know you if I had said no. Oh, and by the way, si acaso no lo sabes, te aseguro que es verdad. El cariño que es sincero no se apaga con crueldad. Olvidas lo que fuimos y desprecias lo más fiel. Juntitos pretendimos que la luna era de miel. Junto a ti, solo es mi anhelo. Everybody sing with me. Junto a ti como el rayo de luz que ha brotado el cielo. No importa el porvenir si sufrir es mi triste destino. Junto a ti hasta el fin del camino. The Spanish words mean that there is no love that is greater than that between a true-hearted gentleman and his chosen one in the back of an El Camino. What? See, I'm Latino and this is Southern California and this is how we roll, you know? Gavin DeGraw? I've got to write them and tell them, take that down. I do not sound like Gavin fucking DeGraw. Close your eyes, try to sleep now. Close your eyes, try to dream. Clear your mind and do your best to try and wash the palate clean. We can't begin to know it, how much we really care. I hear your voice inside me, and I see your face everywhere. Now I say we belong to the light, we belong to the thunder. We belong to the sound of the words we've all fallen under. Whatever we deny or embrace, what was so far better. We belong together. We belong. We belong. Whatever we deny or embrace, we belong. We belong. We belong. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Gavin DeGraw?